Well, first you take the tape off the film, then you turn the motor on, then you push the automatic reset, and then you put the film in, and then you take this little thing then you take it and you pull it down, and the film goes through the middle of it, and you turn off the film, then you put the thing back, and then you pull the film until it clicks, then you put it in a little slot. And then you start ready to project it. If it needs to be focused, there's a little black dial that you turn. And if you want it to be raised, there's a blue dial that you turn.
My name is George Barry, and I'm presuming you're doing the interview with me today because I shot a film called Deathbed in '72 in Detroit. I went to Wayne State University. I went to a college in Wayne State University called Monteith. Now, there was no real film program at Monteith, or really there was a very minimal film program at Wayne State. So I really didn't go to film school because there wasn't a film school to go to. And I really didn't, there wasn't really a film scene to hook into because there wasn't that much activity. I mean, people were shooting industrials, don't get me wrong. There was commercial films being made in Detroit, but it was basically industrial film work. 10 grand, what can you shoot on 10 grand? 16 millimeter color, what can you shoot on 10 grand? Well, you can shoot a porn film on 10 grand. And I was thinking of, in fact, initially shooting a softcore porn film, but the market had turned hardcore. And I have no, moral objection, as I simply didn't want to do a hardcore. I'd have been too embarrassed. I knew that a horror film was a step up. So I started writing the script about bed really enveloping somebody.
I think I hear something.
People tried to discourage me. They just thought it was crazy, the whole idea of shooting a feature film. A, shooting a feature film for $10,000. B, is just insane. Doing a film about a bed that consumes people seemed very odd to them. I never thought of it as particularly odd, really. Everyone's going to sleep sometime in the next 24 to 48 hours.
Oh, Mudama, I'm being eaten alive.
Some of the crew came from Canada, out of Toronto, and some were local, some were from Detroit. Some people I had known before in school. People were paid essentially coffee and cigarette money. You were lucky on that film to get 200 a week, and that you were at the top of the pay scale. A lot of people were, it was just kind of pocket change. Well, the effects were mainly done by a fellow called Jacques Brandes, who was the gaffer on the film. The vast majority of effects were shot in simply a little fish tank. It was the idea that you went into sort of a stomach, the yellow, not the urinous yellow color, more to suggest of a stomach, digestive juices. We got some stage blood. It didn't look very good. He mixed up some, red dye number 2 with some flour. It looked better. I think the most we spent on any effect was about, I don't know, $2.37. It might not have reached that high a budget.
That place looks clean for having been abandoned so long. I hope there's not a maniac around.
I was watching, it was just like in the background, before we made the film, there was a soap opera on TV. And I looked over and I thought, people are very earnest in this film. Whether they're talking about somebody being seriously ill, or whether they were talking about buying a new pair of shoes, or regardless of what they were talking about, they were always this kind of earnest monotone. And I thought, boy, that's what I want.
If the bed'll be too crowded, I could sleep on the floor.
Nonsense, there's plenty of room. I'm not going to have you sleep on the floor, Susan.
I'm very tired. Maybe I should go to sleep now, and then you two can have the bed tonight.
I want a soap opera where everyone is earnest, but now they've got real problems. They don't have to buy a new pair of shoes. They don't have to worry that their husband is cheating on them.
Strange.
They have to worry about staying alive because there's this bed that's going to eat them. The scene that a lot of people refer to with when Rusty gets his hands eaten off. That, for me, is as close a scene in the movie to what I was trying for. I mean, I think about 10% of the film is in the area of what I was envisioning, and that's exactly what, bad or good, right or wrong, that's exactly what I wanted.
I don't think I can stand it. Sharon, you'll have to take them off.
Very few people saw my film. Deathbed, The Bed That Eats, didn't get distribution. And I had really essentially given up on trying to sell the film in about '83. Admittedly, it was very discouraging, extremely discouraging, not to be able to get a sale on the movie. I was scanning the internet one night and I came across, there was a film site. And I was just looking through the forums, and so I'm, I click on the forum, and there is who saw this movie as the header. So I clicked on, see if I saw whatever movie. There was no title, and just who saw this movie. And I began to read, and it was my movie. Who saw this movie, Deathbed? It was pirated. I didn't realize it was pirated in the early '80s in England on VHS on a bootleg. Yeah, this is the old VHS that was pirated in the early '80s. 2 feet, 2 bleeding feet. I love it. Well, it took me, it wasn't like I was never thought I was under some, delusion. I knew where, I knew I was sitting in a chair. I knew I was, was reading the screen. But it was hard to process initially. I mean, hard to process. We're talking about 3 minutes, But, and so it's been interesting. A company called Cult Epics brought out a DVD, and then in 2014, the same company brought out the Blu-ray. And we, so we got a good response to it. And I mean, now, we can break this down into thirds. There's a third of people who are simply indifferent to the film, and there's a third of people who hate it and/or only like it because they think it's so awful. And then there's about a third of the people kind of take it for what it is on its own terms. And they may like it to varying degrees, but, people think low budget, but they don't think that low budget. Oh, no, we haven't. We ended up putting $30,000 into the film, and not factoring in inflation. We have recouped less than a third of that.